Caleb Williams is still the best quarterback of his draft class. Now, I'm going to talk about why I believe that. What's going on, everybody? My name is Philip Charles Vanderhayden IV, a.k.a. Philly the Fourth. I'm here with you today on Chicago Bears Breeze to talk about a couple of different topics that have come out in the news recently. As we know, this is a dead period of the offseason, and so a lot of the discussions that we have are going to be about the way that people rank certain things about the Bears and whatnot, because this is a very hot time for those kinds of things to happen. So let's react as we normally do. Someone recently decided, let's see here, Zachary Pereles from CBS Sports. They decided that they were going to do a redraft of the 2024 NFL draft. So that was obviously the historic draft in which Caleb Williams was still selected, or was selected by the Bears to be the quarterback of the Bears. So, this is obvious. I thought this was a very interesting article when I came into it, because I was like, are these guys gonna, how are they gonna do this? I'm very curious. But it turns out, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to find something else in this draft. Okay, I found it. Interesting. So there's going to be, I'll go over the number one pick, but I'm also going to go over the pick from number 9, because they ended up going with somebody completely different. But let's just talk about number 1 real quick. So obviously Caleb Williams was who we selected, right? Well, that is not who this guy Zachary Pereles had the Bears going, and this is what he had us doing. Taking Drake May of North Carolina. This is a brutally close call between Drake May and Caleb Williams, both of whom took massive leaps in 2025. May, though, was truly special, leading the NFL in completion percentage and yards per attempt en route to an MVP runner-up finish. There are still questions, such as his up-and-down playoff showing revealed, but his physical tools combined with the accuracy and playmaking is a tremendous combination. Look, this isn't – I'm not going to lose my mind over this, but I think it's wrong. Like, with all due respect to Drake May, and let's be honest here, I like Drake May a lot. I was a Drake May guy coming out of college. I was actually a Drake May guy before I was a Caleb Williams guy. I was more sold on Drake at first. It took me a little while. I had to, watching Caleb, it just became apparent to me that while I did believe in Drake May, and I thought he had a very nice, that he could move in the pocket, that he was very accurate, and that he just seemed to make a lot of the right plays all the time, which is what he's done in the NFL. Caleb just had a wow factor, a different level, so to speak. Drake May plays quarterback. Caleb Williams plays something a little bit beyond it. And it's the same thing that Patrick Williams does and Aaron Rodgers did. It's hard to describe. Like, even like don't get me wrong, Peyton is about as good as it gets when it comes to just like playing strictly quarterback. But when you have a guy that could do something a little bit outside of the box, Peyton was never a guy that thrived when if the play got messed up, right? If the play did not go, Peyton was the master of being able to read defenses and complete a play. But if a play got blown up, he wasn't going to make something out of nothing. That play was dead. Same for Tom Brady. Same exact way. Those guys are very much like Drake May. Now, Drake May does have a little bit of something, like he can create a little bit because he can run, but he does not have the stuff that Caleb does when things break down. Drake doesn't do anything close to that. No one in his class does. And only 2 quarterbacks that I can think of in NFL history do it around the same level as Caleb, whether it's a little better or a little worse. And that's Rodgers and Mahomes. But like the way that Caleb, like that 4th and 8 against Green Bay is a classic example. There are not many QBs in NFL history that could have made that throw. And that might sound like an exaggeration, but we're talking about how Caleb had to escape to his left. So he needed mobility. So a guy like Peyton in that situation, dead in the water, sacked, game over. Right? That's not what happened. Caleb's ability to get away allowed him to at least extend the play long enough to where, and then Green Bay guy was still hot on his heels. So what's he do? He hits the jump man, and he throws a pass that when he throws it looks impossible to make. But because he could do something with that arm that is just almost, it seems impossible with the way he's, hitting the jump man and everything, but he can be so deadly accurate in that signature move that it's unbelievable. You have to go with that guy. Caleb was the most clutch quarterback in the year last year to boot. So when you combine his clutch factor with how special his arm is and how unique and talented he is as a passer, you can't pass him up. There's no way in hell the Bears would take anyone besides Caleb Williams at number 1. And it's all due respect to Jaden Daniels and Drake May and Bo Nix, all of whom I believe are good quarterbacks. I think they're in that order. I think Drake's the second best. I think that Jaden Daniels is third best, and then I think Bo Nix is fourth best. But that's not people are going to take that as insults. It's not. This is one of the best QB classes of all time. Straight up. That's how good it is. Because I think the top 4 guys are all franchise quarterbacks. But Caleb is that dude. I think any of the teams that drafted quarterbacks in this round, if we called up the Patriots or we called up the Commanders or we called up the Broncos and we said, hey, we'll trade you Caleb for your quarterback straight up, one-on-one deal, they'd pull the trigger, every one of them. But if all of them called the Bears and said they would do it for Caleb, I think the Bears would say no to every single one of them. And that's just the truth. People, I'm not being I'm taking my bias out of it here too. The people that can't accept how special Caleb's throwing talent is are the people that have Drake May or Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix, and people are stubborn. They hate to admit that someone's better than their guy, but it's just the truth. As a quarterback, those guys, Caleb's just a little bit more talented and special. No hard feelings, but he's got something special, man. And it's only a matter of time. The Patriots, look, Drake May had a great season, but he had a cakewalk to the Super Bowl. It was one of the easiest Super Bowl passes you'll ever see in your life. And he, had the easiest schedule in the league last year. Look, man, it showed when he got to play the Seahawks, an actually good team, because they didn't really play a real contender the entire time. They would have played one in the AFC Championship, but then Bo Nix was out. All of a sudden, they went from a team that was going to be a very huge test to a team that wasn't going to give them any kind of resistance because they couldn't score without Bo Nix. So, overall, I think, it's a good debate to have, but at the end of the day, nobody, I think, is passing except Zachary Pereles. Drake May is a great normal quarterback, but Caleb is something a little bit more special than that. And just because Drake May made it to the Super Bowl and an MVP runner-up, that it's still about the talent. It's always going to be about the talent, and Caleb's got the talent. Sorry to say it, but I'm not sorry. As far as where we went at 9, so they had us draft Ladd McConkey. Pairing Williams with a highly regarded receiver made sense, but instead of going with Odunze, Bears land on McConkey. I gotta say that, look, I understand it because he's had the second most production, I think. I don't think that this changes. The Bears needed a do-it-all wide receiver, a possession guy. They had DJ Moore, and they ended up getting Luther Burden's 2 yak guys, right? We just got a speed burner in Thomas. They needed a guy that can run every route on the tree. I don't believe that's Ladd McConkey. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm selling him short. And if I am, please let me know. But I don't see him being is he going to catch that tough ball over the middle? I know that Rome can. And I know that Rome has had some injury issues, but I think he's kind of been disregarded. And it's not he has been on the receiving end of a lot of clutch receptions on behalf of Caleb's throws. They have a good connection to the point where Williams trusts him a lot with the game on the line. Who caught the 4th and 8 last year against Green Bay? That wild-ass throw I was just talking about. Rome Odunze. When it breaks down, he trusts Rome more than anyone, except for maybe Colston Loveland. So, I believe I'm still going with Rome. You can call me crazy. There was actually other wide, like the other wide receiver. There was another wide receiver I think that went. They had Brian Thomas still go in front of Rome. So Rome was like the 4th or 5th wide receiver. He was like the 4th. His neighbors went 7 in this redraft. Ladd McConkey went 9. Brian Thomas went at 14 to the Saints. And then Marvin Harrison went 19 to the Rams. Yeah, so then Rome was the 5th wide receiver off the board at 20. 20 to the Steelers. So we're grabbing I just, I think that's pretty disrespectful to Rome. And I think he's going to be showing he'll show what he's got. Him and Caleb have a good connection, and yes, he will. Rome is unfortunately going to be the byproduct of always having to share with Loveland and Burden, but I think a huge statistical season for Williams is coming up, and Rome will be a big part of that. So I'm excited for him to get his due because he's a good wide receiver. Or you could even say he might be a great one. The problem is that he's gotten hurt, and people, he's quiet in some games, and so that bothers people. But the Bears have just had a lot of talent. That's just the facts. That's it. The last thing I wanted to talk about before I logged off is that there's another article that ranked triplets, which was a team's top, a quarterback and then their top 2 skill position players. So it could be a running back and tight end, running back and wide receiver. I think. Let's see here. Okay, so there's multiple decision makers. So John Breach, Tyler Sullivan, Jordan Dehani, Brian Diardo, Garrett Podell, RJ White, Zach Pereles, and Carter Bonds, and Jaron Dubin. All of those people came together to rank these people. So, it's a quarterback, running back, pass catcher duo. So the pass catcher could be a tight end or a wide receiver. So obviously for the Bears, that ends up being Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, and I think they went with Colston Loveland. Here, I have it right here. And we went number 13. The Bears were big risers, climbing 9 spots. Williams was considerably better in year 1 than he was in year 2. Year 2 than he was in year 1, slashing his sack rate while keeping interceptions to a minimum and seeing a spike in his touchdown rate. Swift showed improvement in his first season under Ben Johnson, while Loveland is a popular breakout candidate after he showed a ton of promise down the stretch of his rookie season. Hopes are clearly very high for this group. I think that that's a solid rating for them. I like that they had the high and the low here. So out of all the people that I said were, putting these rankings together, they had the Bears as high. Most of them had them at, between 12 and 14, it looks like. Average, obviously, 14.6. Someone had them as low as 18. Let's see. So they have the Packers right ahead of us at number 12. That's where I'm like, okay, that's wrong. They have Josh Jacobs and Christian Watson. So while I'll say Josh Jacobs might be a better player than DeAndre Swift, you're taking Caleb over Jordan Love, and you're taking Colston Loveland over Christian Watson. That's just the facts. The Chargers went 11th with Herbert, Hampton, and McConkey. Okay, I'll take that. Although Hampton didn't have a very good first year. The Eagles went 9th or 10th. That's obvious. That's a big one. The Patriots went 9th because of A.J. Brown. Ramondre Stevenson kind of drags that down to me, but okay. The 49ers went 8th. Bills went 7th. Chiefs 6th. So a lot of these make sense. Obviously, Cowboys 5th, Ravens 4th, Lions 3rd, Rams 2nd, Bengals 1st. Okay. So, we'll see what happens. I think the Bears have a chance to rise much higher after this next season, because I think Kyle Monangai has a chance to replace DeAndre Swift. I think they're going to be far more balanced this season. Monangai might really take over as far as being the actual starter. And I could see Loveland either keeps that spot and just dominates, or maybe next season Burden is there, because I think Burden has a chance to have a crazy season this season. He's got all the talent in the world, and his yak ability. If Caleb and Ben Johnson can figure out ways to get him the ball easily in the open field and let him run, he's a freaking animal. So, that'd be really fun if Loveland and Burden made it really hard on each other to pick who the pass catcher will be next season in these rankings. But that'll do it for this episode of Chicago Bears Breeze. Hey, guys, if you're watching, please leave a like on the video. I noticed that we do get a lot of views sometimes, but we don't always get likes. Please do leave the likes on the videos. It means a lot. It helps a lot for the algorithm. And then I have an announcement. On Thursday is my birthday, but I'm going to be here because for my birthday, my good friend Jacob Infante of Pro Football Network will be joining me at 3 p.m. Central. We'll be going live on this channel talking Chicago Bears football on my birthday. So I would love it if you guys could tune in. Any questions and stuff, like me and Jake are we're pretty wild, the Jakester. We definitely have no filters. If you guys want to, we're going to have some fun with it. So yeah, man, I hope you guys will tune in. It's going to be a great show. I can't wait. And that'll do it for this episode. As always, long live the Chicago Bears, but most importantly, long live you, Breeze Nation. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and bear down, baby.